Excellent, thank you. So we are here today from Definition Health. I'm Christelle, and I've got my colleague Simon here with me as well.
Hello.
And we are just doing a short demonstration on the functionalities of LifeBox, which is the new pre-assessment digital system that is going to be implemented in your trust, which is really exciting. Digital transformation at this point of our lives is an exciting venture to be going towards. We'll start with a couple of introductions. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. Simon will tell you about himself, and then what we're going to do is we're going to ask everybody what they already knew about the product, but there's only Claire and you know everything probably, and Claire, I don't know, you might know something already, but be interested to get your thoughts on that. And then, sorry, I choked a little bit then. And then Simon's going to go into share his screen and sort of go through what the patient will see when the patient is registered and how they would complete the health questionnaire. And then I will go into how it looks from a hospital user point of view. So I'll start with an introduction about myself. My name's Christelle Waters. I am the Chief Digital Nurse for Definition Health. I've only been with the company for a couple of months. My background is nursing. I worked at the hospital where LifeBox was initially implemented, at the Montefiore Hospital, which is a private hospital down in Hove. Before that, I worked in the trust. My background specialties were acute neurosurgical and orthopedic, trauma, oncology, and pre-assessment. Most recently, I've managed wards and daycare units as well. So I've got quite a bit of clinical experience. My role in the company is that I think really sort of making sure all of our health questionnaire and all of our products follow NICE guidelines. So I make sure we're keeping up to date with those NICE guidelines and meeting everyone's expectations. And I'll let Simon tell you a little bit about him.
Mine's not that exciting, I'm afraid.
Of course it is.
So my name's Simon, and I've been brought on by Definition Health as a clinical implementation nurse. So my role is to help train, support, and implement LifeBox for nurses from more of a clinical perspective. I've got a mixed history, medical, surgical, but more predominantly. And I was explaining to Claire earlier that the hospital that myself and Christelle have come from, who worked together for years, was actually the first hospital where LifeBox was implemented. We've seen it from its very first stage and how much it's grown and it's changing the world.
Yeah. Claire, I'm going to pick on you because you're the only other person on the call. But do you know anything about LifeBox?
Oh, hang on. Sorry, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Hello, Claire.
I'm here. Hang on. I'm here.
You're in the
Yeah, you have to be called Claire if you work in pre-assessment, by the way.
Yeah, that's it.
Nice to meet you, Claire. And you've got
Nice to meet you.
And that's Mercia.
Mercia.
Hi, Mercia. Hi,
Thank
Claire.
you.
Highly valuable healthcare.
Can you hear anybody? Hello.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can hear everyone.
Perfect.
Hi, nice to meet you both.
So what do you guys know about LifeBox already, if anything?
Nothing.
Nothing.
What do we know about LifeBox?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. So we'll
Nothing.
forge ahead. So what we'll do now then is I'll pass over to Simon, who will share his screen. We will let you see what LifeBox looks like from a patient point of view. So patients will be registered at a point after a booking form's been generated. They will have an account created for them. They'll get sent an email activation link, which they will click on, and then they will be led to this screen, and I'll hand over to Simon.
Yeah, lovely. So once a patient logs on to LifeBox, obviously they'll be welcomed by the home screen. They then have a list of their procedures down the left-hand side. So you can see here are Nigel Waters, which is a combination of my dog's name and Christelle's name, thinking on the spot, is coming in for a septorhinoplasty. So if we click on this procedure, here we go. It then lets the patient know their pre-op assessment date, their TCI date, consultant name, hospital name, and hospital number. And this has been quite useful actually in reducing phone calls to the hospital regarding updates, because obviously that's a large volume of phone calls coming into the hospital. That's quite a nice feature, actually. And then the patient's asked to follow 3 steps to complete their pre-assessment, which obviously they're able to do from home. 95% of patients from feedback, bearing in mind that we've had 100,000 episodes go through LifeBox already, found it important to complete part of their pre-assessment at home. So the first stage is to complete an online healthcare questionnaire. So they click on the section, and then they're then prompted to complete a healthcare questionnaire with 10 sections. So as you can see, they're labelled here. Now, I've completed this one ready for Christelle to validate, but normally you'd have different coloured icons to show you when they're not complete. And then once the patient's completed the section, they get their green tick, because we all have a green tick in life. Let us know that we're doing well. And then once they've completed that, they're then prompted above to watch their videos, the second stage. So if we click that, they're then prompted to watch informative videos, step 2. Now, when patients are uploaded onto LifeBox and their procedure code is inputted into the database, specific videos can be automatically pulled onto their profile to match their procedure. Currently, they're more predominantly orthopaedic videos, but over this summer, we're working on creating more extensive videos to cover all specialties. So keep an eye out for them, because we'll have more coming. But generally, every patient gets asked to watch an anaesthetic conditioning video, a general surgical video, which patients are warned or informed that this is to complement advice they're given by the consultant. It's not to replace, it's just to go with it. So if they were to be told something different from their consultant, they're aware to always follow their consultant's advice. But I'll just show you a quick example of the video. They're all professionally made, which is nice. Oh, sorry, my laptop's on mute actually, because of the sound effect. Well, anyway, we'll get the video sent across to you so you can have a proper look through them, because it is useful to see what patients see before they come to you. Now, once patients have viewed the videos, they're then prompted, have you watched and understood the information in this video? Yes, I have watched and understood the video, and no, I have more questions. And one thing that I found personally as a pre-assessment nurse was the amount of questions regarding surgical procedures that came through after LifeBox was implemented did reduce. And I'm not just saying it because it works for the company, it definitely does pay off. It's they're just very good informative videos. They answer things that you wouldn't think about, but that are important to patients. And they were developed by NHS consultants for NHS patients, well, patients in general. So if we click, yes, I watched and understood the video. Okay. And we'll just do the same for the next one. Yes, I watched and understood. I've watched them many times, trust me. And the last section gives patients the options to share documents with their hospital, which is a really important function. So this is handy because if you're pre-assessing a patient who has asthma and you need to see their most recent asthma review clinic letter, by the time the patient's either on the phone, you're on the phone to the patient, or they're sat in front of you, you'll be able to access documents that they've uploaded online, such as, like I said, their asthma assessment, their diabetic clinic letter, cardiology letter is a good one as well. I mean, that's really good for the screening process if patients aren't suitable for certain hospitals or surgical procedures at that time. And then likewise, you're able to upload information for patients as well. So if you've got inpatient procedure information leaflets that you'd normally give at pre-assessment, fasting advice, COVID advice, we can help to digitalize, make those in digital format, and then you'll be able to upload those onto LifeBox. So you're saving time sending them out in the post and saving yourselves money as well. And then you know that patients have got quick, easy access to it as well, because anything uploaded to LifeBox by a hospital user pings an email to the patient to let them know that something's been shared with them that they need to view, which is handy. And then lastly, they're just asked to give feedback. And we all know patients like to give feedback, don't we? But overall, it's mostly positive feedback. It really is. As I say, 95% of patients find it useful to complete their pre-assessment from home. 92% found it useful, the informative videos useful to watch. So we know that patients are enjoying those and liking those. And although this seems a very digital format, we know that not all patients have access to technology. Some people don't have phone numbers, some people can't access technology for
The
any
elderly,
reason.
you know, if they don't have email addresses, things like that.
So what happens in that case is that the person creating the patient's profile will set them up as an assisted digital profile. And then rather than the patient complete all of these steps online, the pre-assessment nurse will call the patient and complete that healthcare questionnaire that we've just seen over the phone or in person as appropriate. Typically about 8% of patients are assisted digital, which in the grand scheme of things really isn't that many at all. But what we have found that the digital patients reduce the amount of patients having to come to the pre-assessment department for long periods of time, you know, done at home. When they are, then it's just for a quick blood test, blood pressure check, or physical assessment in any form. But a lot of patients now can be done over the phone with the telephone assessment and then only then brought in if needed. So you're freeing up the assessment department, you're saving patients getting riled up, getting a bit angry, waiting in the waiting. So it's just nicer for all really, because it takes that admin work away from hospital staff and gives it to the patient, which puts the patient back in power of their health as well, which is nice. More empowering. I've fallen enough, so I'll let Dal now
Okay.
explain.
So that was the view from the patient's point of view. I'm now going to just give you a run through on how it would look as a hospital user and a pre-assessment nurse if you're looking at this information to deem a patient is safe for surgery. So I'm going to share my screen.
So Claire, this is where you and your team come into play now.
Yeah.
Your time to shine.
Do I say open system preferences here?
That one. Do you want to use my one? Because it's a bit. There we go. There we go.
Sorry, bear with.
That's right, you can use mine if you want.
Okay.
Sorry, we're both getting used to new laptops.
Oh, hang on, because I won't.
It sounds nice, but.
You're the digital.
Yeah, I know, it's ironic.
We knew somebody would point it out at some point.
Okay, I just need to do my security and privacy setting. Hang on. So I want that.
What's that?
This one.
So Claire, typically at the moment, are your patients more, would you say more face-to-face or more over the phone?
Me, Claire.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, it's confusing. Yeah, all of ours are face to face.
Are they? Oh, okay.
Mercia, you've got your hand up,
Oh,
but you're on mute.
There we go. I'm going to have to quit and go back in, so I'll
You're on mute, Q.
Yeah.
So was Simon on mute as well?
Yes, because he and Crystal are sitting literally next to each other. So to avoid feedback, they've been doing that. Mercia, you've got a question.
sorry about that, Mercia. Did you have a question?
No, I just put the hand up.
Oh, that's all right.
You know that I'm there.
Oh, lovely. Hello back. Yeah. Lovely. Bristol is almost back in the room.
Right, sorry about that, folks. Right. Share. Can you see my screen?
It's coming. It's just black at the moment.
We can cut this bit out of the recording. We'll
I don't
send
have access to the fancy software. I just press record and then say, just save the file.
What about now?
No.
That's right. Do you want to use my screen?
Yeah, can you log in?
When you swap computers, swap places.
Yeah.
Give them computer.
Oh, it's come up. Oh, no, Simon's sending it.
Oh yeah, no, Simon's doing it. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right. This is hospital user, yeah.
Yeah, this is hospital user, and I'll take over.
Right, so you can see, so this is our dashboard as a company. You wouldn't have all these other hospitals popping up like this is, but I just want to show you how you would search for a patient. So say you have a clinic list of patients, and the name of the our patient is Nigel Waters. Which is the training, it's all a training environment, so we're not affecting anyone's live environment. So this is the screen that you would see when you type in a patient's details. So you can see it's got the hospital that we're looking at is North Cumbria, which is what's up the top there, not the patient's name, connect. So this is a function that you can use if you want to do video consultations. Some anaesthetists and other hospitals like to use that. Some of them are using them for their high-risk anaesthetic clinics, in fact. So it depends on what you think would suit your needs as a hospital, really. What we want to look at is the episodes. And it would bring up all the episodes that the patient has been registered for. Did you have a question, Q?
I was just going to say, I don't think our trust has actually purchased the Connect section.
Oh, you're not doing the Connect.
No,
Okay,
I'm not.
a mistake. So you can see all the episodes that the patient has been set up for, and you would click onto the episode that you need, but you can see it's got the procedure name, the TCI date, and the date of their pre-assessment that's been scheduled for. So you would click into that, and it brings up these other series of modules. So I think, as we were talking about earlier with Q and Claire, it's pretty intuitive. It's fairly clear what you need to do at each step along the way. So we obviously will be providing you more in-depth training as our timeline goes on, but it's so intuitive and easy to use. So you can see there's a bubble here for observations, a health questionnaire, assessments, POA summary, recovery, patient file. So I'll just click into the Health HQ, and that brings up the same circle that the patient had seen. And you can see there are some that have green ticks and some that have the red exclamation mark. So the one with the green ticks is information that the patient has answered in the negative to. So they don't have any major issues with their bowel, their musculoskeletal, their organs. The ones with the exclamation means there's some information in there that we need to validate as healthcare professionals and use our clinical knowledge to ascertain that we're happy to progress these patients through. So as an example, I will click onto brain because that is the shortest section. So you can see that there's a series of questions on the left-hand side in the white. These are the questions that the patient has answered in their HQ. And then on the right-hand side is a pink section. So this is where you, as the pre-assessment nurse or clinician, is validating the information the patient has entered. So the patient has said they've had a stroke. And you get quite quick at doing this part of the process, actually. Oh, I know why that's not letting me do that. Oh, don't know if you can hear Simon's tummy rumbling. Right, so brain. So the patient has had a stroke. The patient's put in they had a stroke in 2017. We don't have to retype that information. We can just click this button in the center and it automatically drags that over. And again, you get quite good at quickly reading the information the patient's put in and determining what you need to pay attention to. Has the patient made a full recovery? Yes, they have. Patient now still takes aspirin. I'm going to say no, just for simplicity. And then we go on to the next screen. They don't suffer from migraines. They've never had a fit. Multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia. anything about anxiety. Nigel does have a bit of depression. He's stated he gets low moods occasionally, but he's on medication for that. So you can drag the patient's comments across, and I can supplement it with anything else that I want to put in there. So I can say something like, patient on sertraline. I don't have any concerns for the patient, and there's asked about their medication there. I can confirm that's what they're on, and then finish that section. So once I finish that section, that red exclamation mark has turned green into a green tick. So we know that that information's been validated. So the clinician would work through the circle with the patient and validate the information that's there. And you can see that, as Simon said, there's 10 sections, each section focusing on a different part of the body or the patient's lifestyle, medical history, medication. Once all of that information has been validated, there is a POA summary document that's generated from that. I'll show you just briefly. It won't generate a full summary because I haven't completed the validation, but you can see POA summaries over there. In fact, before I click on that, there's also the assessment section. So I don't know what assessments you would routinely use. VTE, I presume in pre-assessment, it would be one. Is it that you complete on your patients? We also do DASI, falls risk, frailty, stop bang, mini mental state exam. So all risk assessments that once you complete them on this system will be generated onto the POA summary. Stop bang is here as a separate risk assessment. However, there are questions scattered throughout the health questionnaire, which will sort of check what the patient's risk of obstructive sleep apnea and generate an automatic score for generate an automatic stop bang score, basically. But if you felt it was necessary, you could do it as a separate assessment. Then observations. So when the patient does come in for any obs, swabs, anything like that, blood tests, you can enter in their height, weight, BMI will automatically calculate.
Yeah, put your calculators away.
Blood pressure, you can enter in here, and there's an can put in up to 3 readings here if someone's hypertensive and you need to double check it. Anything else there, you save that there, and that will now also go across into the POA summary. So the POA summary is really the output document that is produced from the HQ, all the information that we've been putting in, and it gives you a summary, is what it is, of what the patient looks like. So you can see there's a hospital reported BMI, the patient reported something a little bit different. You can do ASA grades, you can make general notes up here, so it will give you a brief overview of each section, anything relevant. As the brain section is what I've validated, it's coming up with the comments that I've added in, and that's automatically been dragged through from what the patient's entered in as well. So that goes right through each section of that will. The observations that I entered in just now have been generated through into here. Investigation results can be something that can be integrated. If I'd completed assessments, these two would also have come through into here. And of course, you can do your ASA grade. Now, if I had some patient information leaflets to share with the patient, I could easily drag and drop them into here, and either for my colleagues to look at or for the patient to view. They can then access them from their portal. I can see that the patient has watched the anaesthetic conditioning video and the general procedure video, and then you can print this summary as well and document it. At the top is the general notes section. So if there's other comments I wanted to add, patient has disclosed they are anemic and had a heart attack last year. You can sort of save and add that. The good thing is any comments I put in now is name, time and date stamped. So everything that's entered through LifeBox is auditable, and it creates just a real comprehensive narrative of the patient's journey through pre-assessment, really. Any questions so far?
I've got one. What about like moving and handling forms?
So we don't do we do a falls risk assessment. We don't do a manual handling. Do you mean in terms of bed rails?
Yeah, so if anybody's got a high BMI and things like that, for like hoists and things for moving and handling. So we normally fill them in and then they get faxed, sent off.
Yeah, okay. So we don't have that specific assessment at the moment, but I would say that we are currently, constantly developing LifeBox as a product. So that would be interesting to get a copy of your assessments, and the changes we would introduce and any feature requests we would do for LifeBox would have to be something that's applicable to hospitals everywhere. So, but manual handling, yeah, it totally would be. Yes, Q.
I was going to say there's quite a few things that we send to patients in various assessment forms that can be digitalized and dropped into our pre-assessment pathways. So if we, so I'm not worried about them. In fact, I think it's quite good in that it will trigger the data given by the patient will trigger things like a need for a frailty score, a need for stop banks, or one of the problems that we miss them. So 50% of ASAs are undiagnosed. So I think this package allows us to recruit in a lot more good clinical scoring systems, as long as they're validated. And there will be hospitals in the group that are using things that are very like ours, and we may steal from them. We love plagiarism here. So so I'm not worried about that side of it at all. Okay. I think what's really important is the validation takes about 15 minutes for someone who's familiar with the package, and all the writing that faces the patient, because of the NHS accessibility guidelines, is set at a reading age of 12. So it's very easy for the patients to work through it as well. I mean, it's very intuitive for us. I've seen it done as a patient side, and it is incredibly intuitive. And you've seen that the questions that are asked from the patient side in healthcare are very, very simple. And they don't have to know the answer. They can just say, don't know or not sure or what, So.
Which is why, as you say, the validation part by the clinician is so important. And you can also get things like the GP summaries. I don't know if you have access to those when you're doing your pre-assessments at the moment, but certainly at the Montefiore Hospital, as a pre-assessment nurse, you would log on to LifeBox. The GP summary would be already uploaded by the admin team, and you could look at that and then validate that against what the patients had entered as well.
We can only do that if the patient's already given us permission, but that permission tick box is in the process.
Yes.
So we can ask them, so it doesn't come automatically, then we can go and look for it. So,
Anything else? Any thoughts from anybody? Any initial concerns about anything? Is there anything else that you think that it's missing, or?
I suppose we
I like it.
Yeah, we put the octenisans and things in the comments boxes, can't we?
Yeah.
Okay. And I know it seems like a lot of information to take in now, but in terms of support, Fiona, do you work in pre-assessment as well?
Yes, I do.
So Claire and Fiona, I'll be coming up to your team specifically. Come do training in a couple of weeks' time, face to face, and then when the date's decided to go live, we'll be up on site for a week or two, as needed, just to make sure that you feel well supported. And we bring snacks, so we'll make sure that you're all energised.
Brilliant. I'm on a diet. Can you bring fruit?
I will, lovely. It'll be all right. And then also as LifeBox, there's a chat function that staff and patients can use, and it's not an automated robot, it is us, and we're available Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. It may take a couple of hours to get back, tops, I'd say, but it is us, it's not a robot, so we are there for you.
Brilliant.
And that support system is we looked at it in some detail during the procurement phase to check that it would give us the sort of the feedback in a timely fashion that we would need. So I'm very happy with that sort of governance side of the support package.
Yeah. 9 to 5, I think. I mean, Nathan, who's predominantly on intercom at the moment for support, is within minutes. He's so responsive, actually, isn't he? He's got really good feedback. And I think the system as a whole, in hospitals we have implemented cancellation on day of surgery is dramatically reduced. Patients' attendance in hospitals is reduced in terms of, it's just a nicer experience for patients generally, and for healthcare professionals, it will just give you massive oversight over patients before they've even set foot in the hospital, which is it's exciting. Exciting time.
The overall feedback from patient groups is quite impressive, very, very impressive. And Claire here, as in Claire Ho and I, did a session with local patient representatives, and I have to say they had some very, very good questions, but at the end, but it was all very positive the whole way through. I think they were really pleased. It was so patient facing, and so patient-centric that it really encourages people to engage and take ownership of their health pathway.
Absolutely.
So that we can put in sort of better evidence for people, the sort of 10 steps getting fitter before surgery, part of the national drive for that, part of it really supports multidisciplinary working, and the patients can see who's interacting on their pathway.
Yeah.
Not everything on the pathway has to be seen by the patient. If there's something that we think is appropriate just between consultants or between the staff, you can not have a document patient facing, it can be patient withheld.
Yeah.
You can talk about what might be personal health stuff if you don't want anybody behind the patient to be reading the screen kind of thing, so you don't have to put everything out there. So it is for me, the key thing is it's patient centric, patient facing, and they have ownership of the whole pathway.
Yeah, fantastic.
And right through into the post-op once discharged, the pathway goes right through. But I think you're going to tell us about that bit, are you?
Recovery, yeah, we can go into recovery, yeah. So yeah, the exciting thing about LifeBox is that it is an end-to-end solution. So the patient will be seen through pre-assessment. They will have the procedure done, be discharged, and then for certain procedures which you can determine, they'll have the ability to be registered for a recovery module. So what this means is that once patients are discharged, they can enter in a diary entry for, again, a period of time determined by yourselves. A lot of hospitals set it for 6 weeks because it's by 6 weeks. Generally, they'll have follow-up with their consultant anyway. But the patient can enter in a daily, or however often they want to do it, a daily diary entry, which will log things like their pain, their mood, their sleep, things that patients might be ringing up after they've been discharged to want to ask questions or get reassurance on. They can log on the recovery module, and nurses or clinicians, whoever on the ward side, will be able to look at the dashboard and see if anyone's got any significant concerns and address them then and there, really. It gives massive oversight in terms of wound infections. Patients can upload photographs fairly easily, and the clinicians can see if, a patient saying they're worried about their wound is oozing, the nurse can look at it rather than getting the patient to come into the hospital. They can simply sort of view a picture. But again, Simon's got it up on the laptop. Do you want to?
Yeah.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry. I'm so very late.
It's our colleague, Alex. Alex from Harrogate.
I'm from across the Pennines, and I'm new, so I will just be quiet in the background.
So we're just looking at recovery module. So I would say recovery module is something I'm looking at myself in terms of how to develop it further. So in terms of rewording some of the questions to make it more relevant especially for the ward staff who are using this and setting patients up. I think there are a few tweaks to it that could make it a bit more relevant for them. So I'm just you're gonna have two views of me. I do apologise again. So is this the
this is the
patient's view? So let me just.
I can choose another patient if you want.
So what I'm going to do, this is one I set up. Sandy Beaches. Patient. So they've had a hip replacement. So this is from a hospital user point of view. So I've been entering in various notes just to do some user tests on old Sandy Beaches here, but you can see that I have created a trend. So once they've been registered for recovery, this is what the clinician can see. There've been some entries here that have triggered some significant concerns, and I've been making little notes along the side here. So let's look at the most recent entry. Well, let's look at this one actually. So you can see the questions are, how are you feeling generally? How is your post-operative pain? Again, the interface is really user-friendly for the patients. There's sliding scales, there's just one click of a button. We've tried to make it as easy as possible for the patients to use. Are you happy with your pain medication? It's questions about their mood, their sleep, how do they feel their recovery is going? You can see I've added in some comments about concerns with their wound. Haven't uploaded any photos, but that is a function that they could do. And that a persistent question that most patients tend to ask is, when is my follow-up appointment? Which I feel like we could address that before they get to this point. So that's one of the changes I'm going to make. So I can, as a clinician, if there's anything on there that I think they need something addressing, I can call them back and have a chat to them. Most of the time, the patients, all they need is a bit of reassurance and a call back. Sometimes patients would need to attend the hospital again if it's an issue regarding their wound, but certainly those hospital attendances are decreased quite dramatically by utilising this. And the feedback from the ward team is that that is the case. You can see there's these graphs that indicate the trend on their pain, their mood, their sleep, and then I can add clinical notes depending on what my assessment is. So patient needs to attend for a dressing change, and it will say further action required. So that's recovery.
I mean, I'll make it quite plain. Recovery is not for pre-assessment.
No,
teams, but
no,
it's just showing what Crystal said is that how it flows through the whole from pre-assessment right through to discharge from the surgical team.
It would have been good for the SSI nurse, the orthopaedic recovery
yeah.
parent. She's just left.
Yeah, it would be, yeah, for that sort of surgical site infection, deep diving, yeah, would be really useful.
Is she being replaced, Fiona?
There's no job vacancy gone out, but that's nothing new here, I presume.
So I think the biggest thing we'll be doing is validating. Our main role will be validating. Now, whether we continue doing obs and swabs in the hospital or in the community, that's kind of a separate part of what we do. I think we'll retain that in-house for a while because the GP practices aren't keen to expand into that. So we'll still have patients coming in from obs and swabs, but that will be separate from what we're doing. So, you know, when the patient completes their questionnaire, that comes to us. Someone goes through it on the IT platform and then makes a phone call to the patient or gets the patient to come in to validate, depending on what other things may need to be done, what the patient wants. But it's about choice for patients. Yeah. And so, and you can choose times to have phone calls. We said it can be up to half an hour, you know, and this gives an option to be more flexible when we work, to see a lot less patients at weekends face to face, because the fitter ones, which we're currently seeing at the weekends, are ones that we may not need to see at all. Yeah. They'll be validated over the phone. And if your average validation time is 15 minutes, that's quite a big time saving. Yeah. So I'm hoping it allows us to focus a bit more on the sicker patients, the ASA3s and the 4s we still get through elective surgical pathways.
Where do the bloods get done at the GPs?
Well, okay, the obs and swabs and bloods currently is going to stay in-house because the primary care teams don't want to take it over. So the healthcares, ironically, will be seeing probably more people than the staff nurses. Yeah. What will save is staff nurse time, but you'll get more time with the sicker patients. So we will actually be grading our appointments time a lot more than we do now. Yeah. And
from an anaesthetic point of view, of course, Q, you'll realise this. So if there are patients that you would want an anaesthetist opinion on, you know, the anaesthetist can log on to LifeBox from the comforts of their own home and have a quick look at it. Not that you want to be doing that on a Friday night, but have a look at, you know, the patient's information without even going into the hospital, which is amazing, really.
Yeah, and then we can do video consultations or we can do face-to-face consultations as we think. I mean, as the girls at pre-assessment know that, you know, we get asked, we triaged about 8 to 10% of all patients' notes come through us, but out of that, we only see about 25% in clinic. Yeah. So, and again, we can control whether we see them face-to-face or over the phone, depending on what it might just be a very simple question, or we might want to listen to their chest, in which case, you know,
yeah.
I don't think we quite developed the IT system where they hold the stethoscope on their chest.
Coming to be.
There's something to go for, Crystal. You get so yeah, with your letters, you get a free stethoscope. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be very different, and I think we'll spend less time with patients, which is actually a bit of a negative thing, because I think patients quite like the contact, but the feedback we're getting about the whole platform, it is much better than current systems.
Yeah, you will have that cohort of patients who will struggle with the technology side of things, I think. But there are, you know, as we have the assisted digital function and, you know, your sort of internal processes, you know, we can help support those patients still.
Yeah, the option to bring them in face to face if needed.
And they can always ask, you know, a relative, a son or a daughter, can they fill it in with them and help them do that process?
Yeah.
Just because they haven't got their own email address doesn't mean we can't, you know, utilise family members to do it.
Where was the discharge planning part? Because that's a big part of our role, is to ensure they've got a plan to get out that day. Did I see
You
that
can
on
add
there?
that to you can add into the notes section like a perioperative advice, sort of like
Yeah.
currently, but you just type it in as notes. So it's the
Care,
perioperative
like they have carers, TGS,
plan or-
etc.
Part of the HQ, which I didn't go into every section, but there's a lifestyle section which asks a lot of questions about the patient's current lifestyle. Like, do they live in a house? Do they live in a bungalow? Do they have stairs internally? Do they already have a care package? So a lot of those things are covered in quite a lot of detail, and is generated onto the POA summary as well. So you can add your clinician
That's fine.
text as well.
They've got to have a pathway out.
Yeah.
And we want to OT pathway too.
Yeah.
So, you know, we will try and digitalize the current OT output and have that in the form too, so that everyone can see.
And yeah, your physio colleagues and OT colleagues, certainly physios in other hospitals, love the system, because it does give them such insight into what they might need to do to help the patient's discharge out of the hospital, and OT as well, of course. Anything else we can answer for you?
Does it actually have, because our OTs work with us on a Wednesday and assess the patient, can they log into this and put their bits in? Yeah, they can.
The trust can choose who logs in.
Right, okay.
So basically, pre-assessment of the surgeons. We want everyone who is involved in multiple disciplinary working to be using this pathway and not anything else.
Right.
So it's a single patient spine.
And there are different levels of access you can give to any user as well. So the anaesthetist will have a different level of access to the pre-assessment nurses, to the administrators. So the admin cohort of staff will only have access to a limited view. They won't be able to see the full HQ and all the information that's contained within that. I used to sort of have super users or clinicians, super clinician or something like that, isn't it? Yeah. Anything else?
So that's got to be on the name badge, hasn't it?
Yeah, super user.
Super clinicians.
Yeah.
Probably not the right word I was looking for.
Do you get a cape to go with it?
Yes.
We'll get him one.
I want to see the photographs if you do, Claire.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think
The
I'll
tights.
Anything else we can answer? Any thoughts?
Can I just ask Alex's background, because I haven't met Alex before.
Alex, yeah, a little intro.
Hello. So Hugh, I know you know Fraser. So Fraser and I used to work at Smith & Nephew for many years, and he brought me over to see the light. So here I am. So I've been in orthopedics for soft tissue for about 6 years, IVF before that, ENT before that. So I've been around the body, and now it's off into software.
The software, cool. And I see you've got the light behind you that you saw. Very good.
Yeah, I shall be using that from now on. Thank you, Keith. But I'm coming along with Fraser tomorrow, so we'll see you on Wednesday.
You'll see me on Thursday, but yeah.
Thursday, exactly.
Go to CIC first.
CIC.
Yeah.
Right.
Much to Fraser's annoyance, I inverted his. I requested him to invert his diary.
There's nothing wrong with annoying Fraser. I know that from many years of experience.
Oh, brilliant. Well, listen, everybody, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you found it useful and enlightening, and we'll be here to support you all along the way, and we're excited to do so as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
indeed.
There will be.
Are all the assessment nurses going to get a validation code so they can have a look at it?
So we'll create some training accounts and log details and some fake patients for you to have a fiddle around with, and I'll email them to Claire.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Simon. Right.
Lovely to meet you all.
No, nice to meet you too. Thanks very much.
Okay then, see you
Take
later.
care. Bye.
Are you going to forward the record of this?
Yes, I am.
Claire's
Thank
going
you.
to forward the record to all the nurses at pre-assessment. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Right,
Claire.
thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you soon, Alex.
Cheers, Q. See you on Thursday.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye, Claire.
Bye.
That Claire. Sorry.